buddy Jim and I are up in the Bitterroot Mountains in Idaho camping, and we were going to stay 2 nights. And after the first night, we decided it's just too hot. Let's pull up camp and go for a big long drive somewhere and just go back to his place in Orofino, Idaho. So we packed up camp and we started heading down the Forest Service road that follows a creek. And I said to Jim, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Bigfoot family standing right in the middle of the road. And we kind of laughed. About a half a mile down the road, I'm looking at the creek, keep my eyes on the creek, and sure enough, there's this huge black figure. I see these huge shoulders like that, and I say, Jim, stop, there's a huge moose. I mean Bigfoot, back up. And so we backed up a little bit, and he says, oh, I see it too. And so I guess at that point, I'd already seen it for about 3 or 4 seconds, and Jim saw it for 2 or 3 seconds, and it had stood up, and you could still see the massive shoulders, and the body came in a little bit, and it was just super big and super thick all the way to the water. I think it was standing in the creek, and then 1 second it's there, and in the blink of an eye, it's just not there anymore. I wasn't scared. I wasn't freaking out. No adrenaline kicked in. It just seemed perfectly natural that we were going to see something like that. And so I jumped out of the truck and said, Jim, I'm going to walk around a little bit. So he pulled forward, stopped, and I took a little video on my iPhone and just to kind of preserve the moment. And then we kind of stood around and talked for a little bit and checked out the spot over and over. And then after about 10 or 15 minutes, I started getting goosebumps and kind of getting excited, like, wow, that was so cool and stuff. And then we're like, well, I guess we'll head on down the road. I think we high-fived each other. When I got to his house on Tuesday afternoon, the plan was the next day we were going to go for a day drive, come back to his house, and then the next morning go to Antler Creek. That's our spot in the Bitterroots. And so I said, Jim, look, I got this feeling that I got this pull that we should just go first thing in the morning. Let's go to Antler Creek first thing in the morning. I really feel like we should do that. He's like, okay, we'll change the plans. We'll do that. And then the one night we were there at Antler Creek, we were sitting at a picnic table just BSing, and it was getting dark, and Jim heard behind me some cracking of branches and stuff. And I didn't hear it because I was babbling and talking real loud, but that was nothing else happened that night, so we just said, let's crash. And then in the morning we decided, let's just take off. And I was like, yeah, let's just take off. And then like I said, we're going down the road, and I just had a feeling we might see something. I was gonna take my phone and just keep it on the creek the whole time we were driving, and I thought, no, you can't get stuff on camera. It usually doesn't work that way. And then probably, I don't know, 30 seconds later, there it was. It's my first daytime non-woo paranormal type of thing where I could actually tell somebody I saw one, and they're still going to laugh at me or something. Half the people I've told this to don't believe me, but I don't really care. But this is the first one where I have a witness that was with me. We both saw the same thing, and there's no denying it. I think it's always been a part of my life. When I was 3 or 4 years old, we had a 1-acre piece of property in the Mount St. Helens area. And looking back, I didn't realize it at the time, but my stepdad, we're in a tent, and my stepdad, we all smelled a skunk or something and heard something walking around. And my stepdad, I think he stuck his head out the tent and, oh, it's just a skunk. And that always stuck with me. And then I was at the Pix Theater in Woodburn, Oregon with some friends of mine. We're going to watch a movie, and that's when they rolled out the Patterson-Gimlin clip. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's real. And my friends all laughed at me. But it was, from then on, it was on. I don't argue with people or try to convince anybody. I'm not trying to change anyone's religion or, political views or anything, or force my experiences down their throat. I just say seeing is believing, and if you don't believe me, that's fine. But I saw what I saw. When I first got into this real hardcore about 9-10 years ago, I'd go hiking with some friends, and everything was Bigfoot. Every broken branch was Bigfoot. Every little disturbed rock, Bigfoot did that. After a while, it's like, no, Bigfoot didn't do that. So what we started doing is I got a core group of friends that I trusted, and we would go camping, and we would just be ourselves, have a good time, laugh, maybe play some music, play guitar, and just have a good time, and let the Bigfoot find us. And that has worked really good over the last 6-7 years. Yeah, I believe that Bigfoot does choose who they reveal themselves to. There might be a possible family line where they've been part of my family's life for sometimes generations, and but none of the other kids in my family, there are 5 brothers and sisters in my family, and none of them have this kind of a connection with the Sasquatch people. But I do think that I have that connection, and possibly my son and my daughter have that connection too, because they've had some weird experiences in the woods too. So I believe I have an open mind to be able to have these things come into my life. And I know there were times where they were knocking at my door and showing me things, and I refused to go down that route out of fear. I met Arla Williams a few years ago, and she kept telling me, you need to work on your fear, and I did that. And as soon as I got past my fear, I'm telling you, man, I've had a lot of crazy experiences in the woods ever since then. Well, I think they're going to be fine without us. We don't need to prove their existence so they can keep doing what they're doing. They're going to do what they do. I think they're going to continue to show themselves to us at times. Why they do that, I don't know. If I was a Sasquatch, why would I do A or B? Well, I'm not a Sasquatch. I don't know what they think. We can watch a deer and study a deer. We know what the deer is going to do out there in the woods. But as far as the Sasquatch people, they're going to be okay without us. I mean, I know we're pushing them out of their land and stuff, but they'll be fine. They don't need us. What we can learn from the Sasquatch people is how to live with the earth. My theory is that God created the earth, and then man has been destroying it ever since. And the Sasquatch people know how to live with it and in harmony and unison. So we can learn from that. And man needs to get over their ego. And ego is what's causing a lot of problems in the world. Always has.